Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I am Auron McIntyre. Unsurprisingly, Democrats have paid little to no price for their continued execution of violence against the American people, their continued championing of terrorism, their increase in violent rhetoric, and shocking, I know, but this lack of consequences has led the Democrats to doubling down on more violence, more rhetoric, more threats, more support of terrorism. We've got many examples today from a Democratic candidate who is directly wishing death on his political opponents, talking about how much he can't wait to see their children die in their arms. We've got ICE agents being assaulted in Chicago with what would appear to be the assistance of the state and local government. And of course, we have Hasan Piker, someone we did a show on here recently, obviously a violent, narcissistic, sociopathic leftist, but also a animal abuser. Shock, shock. I'm surprised. Well, it's sadly a pun because he's shocking his dog, allegedly. But we'll get into all of this, why the left is ramping up its violence. But before we do, guys, let's hear from today's sponsor. Everyone knows that college is a major investment, so it's really important to do your research. You want to find a school that shares your values, but who has the time to dig through all those college websites? Well, today I've got great news for you. There's a free, easy to use resource that does the work for you. It's called ChristianCollegeGuide.com. This online directory of over 250 Christian colleges and universities is a one-stop shop. ChristianCollegeGuide.com lists all the basics such as acceptance rates, tuition costs, and academic majors. But here's what makes this resource truly special. ChristianCollegeGuide.com will show you the school's faith commitments, its campus policies, and its spiritual life. All the info that you will need to find the college you can trust. This is the definitive college guide for Christian higher education, and it's completely free. So if you or someone you know is considering college, go to ChristianCollegeGuide.com to create a free user profile and start today. It's ChristianCollegeGuide.com. All right, guys, we're going to start here with the story of Jay Jones, the Democratic nominee for Attorney General in Virginia. Of all places, the National Review actually broke this story. I know, I'm shocked as you that they did something very useful, but they uncovered the story of Jones sending out these text messages to his colleagues who were, in their defense, completely shocked and surprised at the level of violence and vitriol he had for his opponents. Was just dripping with the desire to murder anyone who disagreed with them, to watch their children suffer. And despite multiple of these people calling him up, saying, hey, we're worried about you, you shouldn't talk like this, he was adamant to make it clear, no, I'm not walking this back. This is what I believe. I want these people dead. They're fascists, and I want them killed, and they want their child to bleed out in front of them. So we're just going to kind of go through the story real quick to get the gist of what's going on here. Says on August 8th, 2022, a Republican state legislator received a disturbing string of early morning text message from a former colleague, Jay Jones, this year's Democratic nominee for Virginia Attorney General. Jones, who at the time was recently resigned from the state house after a brief stint as representing Norfolk, had strong feelings about the political class, was eulogizing recently deceased former legislator Joe Johnson Jr., a moderate Democrat with a long tenure in Virginia politics. Republican legislators like House Speaker Todd Gilbert had begun making public statements honoring Johnson's memory and political legacy, and some of those statements were making the rounds in the state legislative group chats. Around 8 a.m., Jones shared those feelings with former state legislative colleague, Republican House Delegate Kerry Connor. In a series of text messages obtained by National Review, Jones derided Johnson's political centrism and scoffed at the glowing tribute that were being made in his honor by Republicans in the wake of his death. Damn, that was for Mark, he wrote to Coyer, suggesting he meant to send the text to someone else. And yet that realization didn't stop Jones from joking about what a POS Gilbert would say about me if I died. Then the conversation took a dark turn. So he's sending this to a Republican colleague when he meant to send it to someone else. But even though he recognizes that he sent it to the wrong person, and this might not be the person to make this point to, instead of backing it up and saying, okay, sorry, no, he decided to go deeper in and attack all of these people, wish death upon them. He says, if these guys died before me, Jones wrote, referencing the Republican colleagues who are publicly honoring the deceased Johnson's memory, I'd go to their funeral and piss on their grave to send them out awash in something. Jones then suggested that presented with a hypothetical situation in which there were only 2 bullets and was faced with the choice of murdering then Speaker, House Speaker Todd Gilbert or 2 dictators, he would shoot Gilbert every time, prompting pushback from his former colleague. Jones, quote, these three people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, but Gilbert in the crew were the 2 worst people you know. He receives the bullets every time. So already, I believe that my Republican opponents are more evil than Pol Pot and Adolf Hitler. So when I tell you that when they say fascist, what they mean is I want to kill you, this is what I'm talking about. When these guys are talking between each other, and remember, he's sending this to a Republican. Right now, I have no idea how Republican she is. I don't know her background. Maybe he thought he was ultimately in safe company communicating this, because some Republicans aren't very Republican at all. But ultimately, she says, Jay, please stop. Right. And then he says, lol, okay. Then she says, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. It's not okay, no matter who they are. So, just the most human response in the world. Look, I get it. You don't like these people. Maybe even she doesn't like these people, despite her being a Republican. But we don't talk about people like that, even in private. Like, even just 2 people. Like, we don't start talking about murdering these people because they disagree with us. Like, that is not the way that we should be conducting ourselves. The private messages offer a disturbing glimpse into how Jones, who's looking to oust incumbent Republican Attorney General Jason Mraz this fall, describes his political adversaries in private conversations. The violent rhetoric complicates an already contentious and competitive race roughly a month out from Election Day in Virginia, where voting began on September 19th. Asked about the years-old text exchange, Coyer condemned Jones's rhetoric and said she sent screenshots to the conversation to Gilbert that day. She said that she and Jones haven't spoke since, aside from a brief conversation about policy issues. On October 8th, 22, and she describes the texts and why she was disturbed by them. Jones and his campaign spokesman did not respond to repeated requests for comment. Gilbert also did not respond to requests for comment. Following publication, other outlets publish a reaction from Jones where he says, like all people, I sent text messages that I regret, and I believe the violent rhetoric has no place in our politics, he said, after his campaign ignored repeated requests for comment from National Review. Let's be clear about what is happening in the Attorney General race right now. Jason Mraz is dropping smears through Trump-controlled media organizations to assault my character and rescue his desperate campaign. This is a strategy that ensures that Jason Mraz will continue to be accountable to Donald Trump, not the people of Virginia. This race is about whether Trump can control Virginians, whether Trump can control Virginia or Virginians control Virginia, end quote. So you'll notice here, yet again, we see the Democratic non-apology, right? This guy said something that was absolutely atrocious, absolutely horrific, disqualifying on every level, right? On every level. But we're in a post-Charlie Kirk assassination era, right? Now, I get that in 2022, that was not the case, but we are in a situation where the president of the United States has been shot, Corey Competore was killed, Charlie Kirk was killed, ICE agents have been shot at by snipers. That is where we are at right now. So this language should have been disqualifying at any time for anyone, but it's especially disqualifying now. And if you're the candidate who said this, then if you gave a crap about your country at all, like just the smallest, minutest detail about your country, you would step down, knowing that this rhetoric is incendiary, that at this time, maintaining that type of rhetoric is completely unacceptable, right? If you cared about the country even a little bit, you would say, okay, I understand. Maybe I didn't mean this. Maybe ultimately I shouldn't have said these things. But you know what? I'm for the good of the country, I'm going to step back in this one. That's not what he does at all. Not only does he not apologize at all for what he said, right? He says, well, like a lot of people, I've sent some texts I didn't mean. That's not what happened here. You didn't just, oops, I sent a text. Like, you sent the text to a wrong person, and then they turned around and they told you, This is wrong and you shouldn't say this. And you went ahead and told them more anyway, right? Like, that's where you're at here. Also, didn't apologize for what he said. He didn't apologize in the slightest for what he said. He says, I just oppose political violence. Well, actually, you clearly don't, because you were fantasizing about it repeatedly. But on top of that, you did not apologize for espousing the political violence in the tweet. Saying some blanket catchphrase like, I oppose political violence is not an apology for the time when you actively supported political violence, which is the same thing Jimmy Kimmel did, right? This is the line, this is the left's move now. Jimmy Kimmel goes on, explicitly says, the shooter was a MAGA guy, and MAGA's just trying to lie about that. Says it point blank for everyone to hear. Then, when he's required to come back and say something about it, he gives a non-apology, where he lies and says, oh, well, I never meant that, even though that's obviously, clearly, exactly what he meant. And if you heard that from me, well, that was your mistake. I understand why you would make that mistake, but it's your mistake. Because I condemn political violence, even though I literally just covered 4 political assassins. This is what the left is doing now, right? There's no apology here. They're not backing away from the rhetoric, but it gets even worse. Coiner's alarm at her former colleague's violent rhetoric towards Gilbert prompted Jones to call her and explain his reasoning over the phone. So it's even a step further. Look, yes, I know I sent something to you that is completely abhorrent. And you said, don't say that, and maybe I could have just left it there. But no, I want to call you, again, a Republican, and tell you specifically why I said that. And did he then say, look, I apologize, I abhor all the violent rhetoric? No. According to the source, the Democratic former legislator doubled down on the call, saying that the only way public policy changes is when policymakers feel pain themselves, like the pain that parents feel when they watch their children die from gun violence. He also asked her to provide counterexamples to disprove this claim. Then at one point, the source said, he suggested he wishes Gilbert's wife could watch their own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views, prompting Coiner to hang up the phone in disgust. Afterward, Jones continued his barrage of text messages, saying that he was just asking questions. Coiner dismissed his excuses via chat, chastising him, hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Rather than deny that he had wished death on the children, Jones responded by saying, yes, I told you before, only when people feel pain personally do they move on from policy. So again, multiple times, he's encouraged both in text and in on the call to back this away. Say, oh, I didn't mean this, right? Oh, I didn't mean this. Something, anything. He had the opportunity to back away and say, and at every opportunity, he doubled down and said, no, I really want these people dead. I really want their children dead. Only when they watch their children die in their arms will they finally agree with me. Faced with more pushback from his frazzled former colleague, Jones somehow took the conversation even a step further. Quote, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil, that they're breeding little fascists? Yes, he wrote, referring to Gilbert's wife and 2 young children. These people want to kill you. These people want to kill you. This is not a joke. This guy is not stepping away from political violence. He's not denouncing political violence. He wants you dead. And he will say it over and over and over and over again, both over the phone and in text to a Republican colleague. He wants you dead. You're raising little fascists. They deserve to die. I want to see you watch them die in your arms. He is not walking away from this. That's the amazing thing, guys. He's not stepping down. And not only is he not stepping down, every Democrat is silent on this issue. They might say, oh, I condemn the rhetoric, but none of them are saying he needs to get out of the race. Charlie Kirk died in front of his children. Bullet through his neck. This guy is saying, I want my opponents dead. I can confirm it over and over again. I will call you up and berate you about the fact that I want these people's children dead. They're raising little fascists because fascist means people I can kill. That's it. Jay Jones is saying These children are fascists and they deserve to die. I hope they die. The charge of fascism is a whistle to murder you. That's it. That's all it is. It is otherwise content free. It's not about an ideology. It's about political discussion. They don't care if you disprove their argument with facts and logic. They just say fascist before they shoot you. And this guy is running as the Democratic AG, and no one is telling him to step down. Gonna run law enforcement in one of the most important states in the country. And he is fantasizing about murdering Republicans and their children because they're all little fascists and they deserve it anyway. This is genocidal language. This is mass murder language. This is I'm sending death squads to your door language. And it is now acceptable in the Democratic Party. I don't care what they, we abhor the language. Are you going to tell him to step down? Well, no. So you don't abhor the language. There is no consequence. He says whatever he wants and you don't care. Because winning an AG race is more important to you than holding the country together. The left is not dialing down the temperature. They are putting more and more people into power who want to kill you. While you debate whether or not they should have freedom of speech to call for your death, they're putting more and more people in power. While you're sending a few more guys, a few more conservative personalities to debate people on folding tables on college campuses, the left is putting people in power to murder you, who openly discuss their desire to murder you, who feel no guilt even when their calls for murder of children are exposed, and who face no consequences and will not step down and will not be asked to step down by any of their colleagues. Because these people are absolutely murderous and insane. It's just straight evil, guys, and there's too many of these people in the left. It's not everybody. There are Democrats who ultimately don't agree with this, but it's less and less every year. To the point where now you can just say this stuff openly. I mean, this is just straight up Civil War language, right? There's no other way to put this, right? This is a guy who is fantasizing as soon as he has power about murdering his opponents. What else is there to say at this point? Where else is there left to go? If you let people like this into power, they will kill you. They've told you so. Like this is like I've had people accuse me of, you're heating things up and you're driving rhetoric or no, I am just reading what these people believe and say out loud, and you should believe them when they say it. Stop making up excuses from people who are going to try to kill you. Are you insane? Have you lost your mind? Have you so little self-preservation that you would let these people openly talking about how they would revel in the murder of your children and then install them into power? Because that's your principles or something. Sorry, my principles are not having people who want to murder me in power. If that is a problem for you, if that's some kind of violation of your deeply held principles, we have a problem. We have principles that are at odds. Because my principles are not installing murderous people to be in charge of armed officers who will come to your door and kill you. Who will not be in charge of the prosecution of the Antifa foot soldiers, who will inevitably come and burn down your neighborhood and try to kill you and then get off scot-free because the guy who is in charge of deciding whether or not charges are leveled at them agrees with them entirely, is directing them and calling for the very violence he's supposed to prevent. This is where we're at, guys. Like, this is not like I hear it. I hear somewhere, guys are like, oh, it's overhyped. Nothing ever happens. Yeah, okay. Keep putting these guys in power. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens like Charlie gets shot through the neck, right? Nothing ever happens like ICE agents getting fired on by snipers. We're going to be going deeper into this, guys. This is far from the only advancement in left-wing violence this week. There have been plenty more steps towards complete lawlessness by the left and complete violent, just unhinged action by the left in the last week. This is not stopping. This is not slowing down. The rhetoric is terrible, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Trust me, this guy is just one of many who's going to be pushing this stuff. We're going to be looking at places like Chicago where this isn't just words, it's actions. And if you got guys like Jay Jones, who are the ones who are actually running the AG's office in those states, guess what? It's open season on you. Because Antifa's going to do whatever they want. This guy isn't going to do anything about it because he agrees with everything they're doing. It's just not America anymore. You've literally lost it. It's over. Like, the Republic is over with that kind of stuff, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. I have to keep hearing people tell me it's overblown. I don't understand how you can look at this and think any of this is overblown, but we'll get to all those other examples in just a moment. Let's hear about Share the Arrows. You know, we spend a lot of time here talking about what's going on in culture and politics, the battles, the noise, the craziness. But here's something different. If you're a woman listening right now, or if there's a woman in your life that you care about, you need to hear this. It's called Share the Arrows, and it's happening on October 11th in Dallas, Texas. It's hosted by Blaze TV's own Allie Beth Stuckey, and it's designed to encourage, equip, and speak truth into the lives of women who are trying to stand firm in this world. This is a day full of worship, teaching, and real conversations. So if you're a woman who's been craving encouragement and biblical truth, this is for you. And if you're a husband or a dad or a brother listening, think about your wife, daughter, or sister who needs this. In a culture that's constantly pulling in the wrong direction, this is a chance to stop, reset, and get grounded in biblical truth. Tickets and details are at sharethearrows.com. And yes, VIP options are still available. That's sharethearrows.com. All right, so let's take a look at some of the other ways in which the left has completely gone off the rails. We have the report here. Breaking DHS announces federal agents in Broadview, Illinois were rammed and boxed in by 10 cars. So for those who aren't familiar, this is a classic possible death trap, right? If you ram into people's cars and freeze them into place, you're boxing people in like this. This could easily be a setup for another sniping event. Luckily, that was not the case here. But ICE agents should have been, there is honestly no reason an ICE agent wouldn't expect they need to shoot themselves out of this situation. You have someone ramming and boxing in your cars. Well, you have a history of other Antifa troops sitting on roofs, sniping people. Like this very easily could have turned into fish in a barrel, where they block these people in and they just start opening fire. And at that point, anyone who drives up on a DHS or ICE officials or anything like that, you have to assume they're just going to kill you, which means that now the agents have to consider the fact that they might need to just completely open fire on anyone doing this kind of stuff. This included a woman armed with a semi-automatic gun who was posted online threats saying F ICE, was flagged by a CBP intel bulletin. DHS says the feds fired on her defensively. DHS, quote, Pritzker's Chicago Police Department is leaving the shooting scene and refuses to assist us in securing the area. There's a crowd growing, and we deployed a special operations to control the growing crowd. So not only do you have these initial terror attacks, but on top of this, you have a completely uncooperative Chicago police and wider Illinois police apparatus. They've been told specifically by the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois to not involve themselves, to not help, to not assist. So you have a complete breakdown in cooperation between any local law enforcement and the agents themselves. So the agents can't do their job specifically because there are terrorist attacks going on in Illinois. And basically the police are being told, whatever you do, don't stop the terrorist attacks, which means functionally the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago are aiding and abetting, if not directly assisting, in terrorist attacks on federal officers. Like, I don't know. Again, yes, no one's coming out and saying, oh, the Civil War has started. But when you have people, again, I'm trying not to use incendiary rhetoric here, but I'm running low on ways to describe this situation that don't make it clear that the rule of law, the monopoly on violence, the degree of order provided by the American system is completely gone. You have a state that is in direct defiance in every way of basic immigration law. And when federal officers come in order to try to enforce that law, the state government and the city governments specifically go out of their way to ensure that those people meet the maximum amount of violence that these Antifa foot soldiers can produce. Yeah, they're not opening fire on the ICE agents as, Chicago PD. I guess we're not at that level yet. But they are functionally allowing Antifa foot troops, this like semi-militaristic force, to go on the ground, act as the foot soldiers of the left, of the Democratic Party, and do violence in the name of these people. But just because they don't have badges on, because they're not officially part of the state, because they're a paramilitary organization instead of a formal military organization, well, we're not there yet. Okay, I guess. We're pretty close, though. We're pretty close. None of this is great. But there are, of course, more examples. So here we have John Oliver, ever a horrific person, cheering on terrorist attacks on ICE here.
And in Rochester last month, ICE cornered some men working on a roof and were waiting for them to come down to arrest them. But a local pastor went on social media to summon people to protest. And just watch what happened next.
A chaotic scene on Westminster Road Tuesday morning in Rochester as federal agents were carrying out an ICE enforcement and removal operation.
So basic law enforcement, you have to go in and remove illegal aliens. They're working on the roof. We see they're there. We're going to take you in, and in the time it takes to get these guys off the roof and start to arrest them, the citizens suddenly show up, surround the ICE enforcement, and you can see here their tires have been slashed. So this is an attack, right? This is clearly we're no longer, this is not some peaceful protest. They have assaulted, or I'm not sure, I guess vandalized at the very least, the police vehicle. These people should have been arrested immediately because obviously they're committing a crime. They're not just standing there protesting, though that would be enough, right? Like if you have a situation where the people of the city are rallying and bringing people in to try to stop legitimate police actions on a regular basis, you already have a lawless situation. But we're not just seeing the attempt to bring cameras and bring protests. We're seeing violence. They're slashing the tires of the car. Well, in one sense, you could say, okay, it's just the slashing of the tires of the car. But that means, again, the car can't go anywhere. So if some guy's on the roof deciding he wants to start sniping Border Patrol agents, decides he wants to start shooting at ICE agents, if some woman with a gun on her decides to ram this car and hop out with her gun, the tires are flat. They can't make a getaway. This is just insane.
They're here putting on a roof, trying to make $1 and paying taxes on that $1. And ICE was here bothering them. So I came to bother ICE.
Details from federal authorities are
So just John Oliver leading his audience in a ritual where they cheer for these officers having their tires slashed, having their ability to enforce the law stopped. They are cheering openly, and Oliver is leading them in this on purpose. He wants leftists to think that going and trying to stop law enforcement from doing their job and slashing their tires and boxing them in, this is all normal. This is all fine. This is just peaceful protesting until someone opens fire.
But our cameras captured a Border Patrol vehicle at the scene with flat tires. In response to the large crowd, agents left Westminster and the SUV was towed a few blocks away.
Perfect. Well done to everyone involved.
Perfect. Well done to everybody involved. John Oliver is not hiding it any more than Jimmy Kimmel was hiding it, any more than Hasan Piker was hiding it, any more than Ilhan Omar is hiding it, any more than AOC is hiding it, any more than Jay Jones is hiding it. These people want you dead, and they are training crowds of people to kill you. Today, it's just boxing you in, preventing the lawful arrest of people, chanting and blocking your ability to do your job. But then your tires are flat. Can you get out? Can you get out when the fire starts? Can you get out when they start firebombing you, which has already been something they've tried to do? Can you get out once the sniper opens fire on you? Will John Oliver be cheering then? Not out loud, but he'll be sending those text messages. You know he will be. In fact, if there aren't text messages exactly like the one that Jay Jones sent on John Oliver's phone, I would be shocked. Because these people all agree. Violence against you is fine. Violence against you is their political right. They believe they have the open right to violence against you, and they expect nothing to happen. And with good reason. We have seen the Trump administration, to be fair, start picking up some of its arrests in these scenarios. They're no longer just completely turning this stuff over to people. But man, this is not great. The left is in no way backing up from this. Here we see Governor Pritzker saying, this morning, the Trump administration's Department of War gave me an ultimatum. Call up your troops or we will. It's an absolutely outrageous, un-American to demand a governor send military troops within their own borders and against our will. Isn't it amazing how all of a sudden every Democratic governor becomes John C. Calhoun? All of a sudden they've recognized the importance of states' rights and the 10th Amendment. All of a sudden they grasp the need, right, to have this kind of restriction on power. But of course it's a joke, right? Because we know that this isn't the case. We know that the National Guard gets sent in all the time. The governor, the left has done this on several occasions. We have seen this across the board. And of course, let's not forget, like, all of these guys love the Civil War. Hello? Right? Like all of a sudden, Pritzker is what, a neo-Confederate? Look, I've seen this from all kinds of people. I've seen this from Hillary Clinton. I've seen this from several politicians. Oh, states' rights. Oh, you can't send the military into the states. You can't send the National Guard in. You can't send troops in. That's a violation of our rights. Look, as a proud son of the South, I'm glad that all of a sudden these people recognize the tyranny of Abraham Lincoln. But come on. What a joke. Like, you really think that all of a sudden we believe that you agree with states' rights, that you care desperately about the lawful application of force in these situations? Are you kidding me? I mean, in the South, did you have people going to attack federal agents during segregation or integration? If you did, well, guess what? They sent the 101st Airborne to escort you to school at gunpoint. And I don't even think there was the level of assaults on federal officers happening then that are happening now, but they certainly were sending troops in to make that happen. So you're telling me this just can't be done? There's just no precedent for this? I mean, come on. Who do they think they're fooling? But we see this all over the place, right? Absolutely all over the place. Here's the mayor of Chicago, again, bringing more and more of this stuff.
They want to divide, trying to divide us and pit people, groups against one another. They want to divide and conquer. And as I said, in the South Shore, and this has been said very clearly, Black people in one van and immigrants in another. In the face of this unprecedented threat, this moment calls for unity. Black, brown, white, Asian, young, old, North Side, West Side, South Side, we must all pull aside our differences and defend one another. Because if we allow this to continue to be unchecked, by the time we realize what's happening, it'll be too late. And this executive order is a step towards accountability and is calling for the basic rule of law. In the coming days and weeks, we may be pushed, if not forced, to take even more dramatic action if this administration continues to escalate and provoke our people. In closing, last night I spoke with the governor, and he informed me that the Trump administration is deploying Texas National Guard to our city. We will speak to our response later today. We'll do that with the governor as well as the attorney general. For now, let me just say that we are unequivocally going to continue to reject the military occupation of our city.
So here we have it. He's framing this as like it's the reconstruction of Chicago, right? The South is sending troops to Chicago and they are military occupying force. Again, hilarious. We have a period of that in America. It's called Reconstruction. So there's actually quite a bit of precedent for exactly this type of thing when you think that the other half of the nation is not going to enforce the law as you have passed it. Now, I have my own problems with this, but pretending that all of a sudden he recognizes the evil of this and has changed his ways. No, not even for a moment. None of his principles have changed. It's good when they do it, and it's bad when we do it. The end. They do not care. The fact that these people are completely violating the law, openly sabotaging attempts to enforce the law. He's talking about organizing against ICE, taking action against them, standing together. We're going to have to take even more extreme action. What does that mean? What does it mean to take extreme action against the National Guard, Governor? Mayor? What does it mean to take extreme action against United States military personnel? Because that's what he's talking about here.
The Trump administration must end the war on Chicago. The Trump administration must end this war against Americans. The Trump administration must end its attempt to dismantle our democracy. Right as we are making historic progress in reducing violence, the Trump administration is seeking to destabilize our city and provoke chaos. We said that they would use ICE as a pretext to send in the National Guard. And now they are doing just that. I've also said for the last couple of years that the extreme right in this country refused to accept the results of the Civil War. They have repeatedly called for a rematch. But
there you go. This is a rematch of the Civil War. I see the basic enforcement of law by the Trump administration as an opening for another civil war, a rematch in the Civil War. This is not, look, I get, people love dunking on Tim Pool for this, guys, but like, what else do you say? Where else does this go? What outs are left in this rhetoric? Where other direction can you head? Like, this is where the Democrats are putting us, and they're doing it on purpose because there is no cost. There's no cost to this continuous action. All right. I wanted to also play for you this Hasan Piker story. So, obviously, we did a episode last week about what a horrific human being Hasan Piker is. Went through his interview with Ross Douthat of the New York Times. It's very clear from Hasan's actions, despite whatever he might have tried to tell Douthat, and Douthat, I think, challenged him correctly repeatedly on this issue. Despite what he tried to tell Douthat, it's very clear that he has openly called for violence. He does so on a regular basis. He's talked about how he wants the blood of capitalist pigs to flow in the streets. He wants to see Republicans gutted, eviscerated. He wants to see their guts, holding their guts. He's talked about the different need for violence against people who own land but don't rent it. You need to kill them. You need to murder those people. He has said all of these things, right? He's called for the death of Rick Scott of Florida. This is something that he has done over and over again. And yet somehow, despite all of this insanely violent rhetoric, Hasan has platforms. He's on everything. He can stream everywhere. He can have bank accounts. No debanking. If you're too far to the right in any way, shape, or form, you're never going to be on a platform. You're never going to be able to have a bank account. But Hasan, he can just call for the death of people on a regular basis and nothing happens to him. But you know what? I think this time something might actually happen to him because people are really outraged about this. I'll play it for you real quick.
I hate this fucking country so much.
Go home. Go home, you piece of crap. Nobody wants you here. Go home. Well, I will put you on the first catapult out of here. The first rocket we can strap you to. Okay? You hate this country? No problem. Bye. See ya.
You can be on a fucking mountain in the middle of Norway and get better internet than Los Angeles, California. And this is just like a moment of anger. This is a moment of fucking anger for like something that is just so routine, so silly, such a first world problem. But it is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential violence. Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
All right, so you can see here that the dog gets up. Now, I don't watch a lot of Hasan Piker except when I absolutely have to for stuff like this. I'm not familiar if he's always got his dog behind me here, but clearly he expects this dog to just stay in exactly one place the entire time, right? Like the dog gets up for a second, stands up, kind of looks around, something pretty much any dog is going to do all the time, right? They don't want to lay in the same place for hours without at least standing up. Sometimes they'll stand up, turn right back around, and lay back down where they were, but they want to stand up and move around. So he's got this dog back here, and the minute the dog stands up and starts moving around, it's very clear that Hasan leans over. He seems to be pushing something in his hand, right? All of a sudden, the dog yelps, and then he starts yelling at the dog again.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
Here, let me back this up just so we can see the actual dog moving around in his response.
That's the why. America, Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredible.
Now, the people have zoomed in. And of course, it's got to go to the cruelty of the Palestine protest. Ugh. Anyway, so people have zoomed in on the dog here and have highlighted that there clearly is something electric on the collar, right? So from what it looks like this guy is shocking his dog just because it starts moving around on stream. It's supposed to stay in one place the entire time, and if it gets up at all, he's leaning over, hitting something. The dog screams out in pain and then lays back down, and it looks like it has a shock collar on. Now, again, I don't know everything for sure, right? We're just working off limited video evidence here. Maybe there's some other explanation, but it really looks like Hasan Piker is just torturing this dog because it's not being a good prop for the background of his video. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not surprised that this completely, foreign communist who's calling for my murder on stream, like it's not exactly a shock that this guy is also an animal abuser, allegedly, right? It's not exactly a shock here, but it's exactly who you expect this guy to be, right? I think it's time for him and Sam Hyde to figure this out. Just let's get this over with, right? But it truly is amazing that ultimately this probably will be, if anything, the thing that gets this guy actually canceled. He can call for the murder of conservatives, but I think even his own audience is pretty angry at him hurting this dog. Like even the liberals are like, hey, not okay. So good to know you can murder conservatives or call for their murder, and whatever. Maybe we'll even celebrate you. But if you use a shock collar on an animal, which to be clear, I 100% oppose. But if you use that on a dog, oh well, that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to get you at the end of the day. That kind of puts in perspective where we are as a country, right? When this guy can call for the open murder of conservatives and it's got no real consequence, but if he shocks a dog, then all of a sudden people finally recognize what an evil guy he is, because he really is truly evil. And the fact that he has a platform, that he's allowed to continue to stream, that he's facing none of the pushback that any radical right winger would get and has received on a regular basis from the institutions, from the social media platforms, from the banks, from everything else. I mean, you just have to recognize that this is why we are where we're at. Piker thinks he can just do whatever he wants, and he seems to be right about that. There just never seems to be any kind of consequence. Calling for murders, abusing animals, whatever, right? Being on the left means being in power even when you lose the election. Make no mistake, the reason that Hasan is ultimately not worried is he doesn't think Donald Trump's in power. He doesn't really believe the Republicans are in power. He doesn't believe conservatives are in power. And he knows that because guys like Jimmy Kimmel can just walk around, cover up for violence. Guys like Piker can openly call for violence. Jay Jones can talk about watching your children die in your arms and gleefully, push that idea. and nobody will have any consequences. So they're just going to keep doing it. All right, finally, I'd like to go here. What do we have? Oh, no, that was more of that comment. Okay, so here we have Vivek. Vivek, of course, running for governor of Ohio, I believe. And he did his best to try to answer the "what is an American" question. By the way, I would like, I don't know if I certainly didn't do this on my own, but I would like to take some degree of credit for forcing this discussion, especially for guys like Vivek, who obviously have come out and talked about how much they hate our culture and how much he thinks his culture is superior. But let's hear his attempt to give this answer.
So what does it mean to be an American in the year 2025? It means we still believe in those ideals of 1776. It means we believe in merit, that the best person gets the job, regardless of their genetics.
So, right away, what does it mean to be American? Well, it's an idea. It means you believe in the ideas of 1776. Well, what are the ideas of 1776? Merit. You get the job despite the color of your skin. Look, guys, you may say ultimately that those are the correct ideas. Those are the correct values. That's what the founders should have meant. But that is not what the law was in 1776. The first Immigration Act passed in 1790 said only white men of good character should be entering into the United States. That is not what the founders said at all, actually. It is not what they did. It is not what they believed. Now, they believed in merit. I think that's true. I think there are a lot of people who would believe in merit. I don't think the founders would have said, hey, we have some exclusive ownership on the idea of merit, or that's uniquely American. No other country has ever thought about being having merit. For pretending that in the 1776, the person for the job was the guy who had the best ability and not correct skin color. I mean, that's just not true. So already it's like ahistorical on top of being ridiculous, but it only gets worse from here.
That you are judged not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions.
Can someone tell people that Martin Luther King Jr. was not a founding father? Please? Can someone tell everyone that he was not in the founding? So when you say being an American is having these values, and then you quote someone from the 1960s, I think what you mean is, actually, I don't care about the values of 1776. I care about the values of 1967. Right? Ultimately, that's where he is. And by the way, Martin Luther King, yes, I like that line too. Good line, great line. Martin Luther King Jr. said a lot of other stuff, which I've gone over in detail on streams on my channel. Martin Luther King Jr. did not believe in meritocracy. He explicitly believed in affirmative action. He believed in DEI. Now you should say, well, I just want to take that one part of Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and leave the rest. Fine. But stop holding him up as some kind of champion for this idea. He was not. And so you've already failed on two fronts. You said America is these things because this is what our founders believed in 1776. They didn't. And here are some other ideas from 1776. Oh, actually, they're from some guy in the 1960s who didn't believe them either. Not exactly helping us to define an American here.
It means we believe in the rule of law. And I say this as the proud son of legal immigrants to the United States. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. It means we believe in free speech and open debate without censorship. Whether you're Nick Fuentes or Alex Jones or Jimmy Kimmel, it means that words are not violence, that violence is violence, and violence is never an acceptable response to words.
All right, so far we have Americans believe in meritocracy, free speech, and they should come here legally. So everyone's an American. Everyone's a potential American. This doesn't tell us anything about what an American is. An American is anyone who ascends to the, or who, gives some kind of confirmation to these principles for 10 minutes and comes here legally. And then immediately turns around and what? Uses that free speech to say, I hate this country, like Hasan Piker? How's that working out? Just because you believe in meritocracy, you must believe in all the other values of the United States? No, that just doesn't hold.
It's not just about our constitutional principles. Thank you. That's America. That's who we are. It's about our Constitution, but it's about even more than that. It's about a culture that is distinctive to our nation. It means we believe in accountability. It means that we are courageous, that we're brave, even heroic, when called upon to serve our country, that we take.
So again, none of these are things, these are all just empty catchphrases. None of these things are specific to the United States. This is not about the culture of the United States. We believe in serving the country when called. Okay, there's like 1,000 countries that have a military, right? Like there's nothing specifically American about having people who respond to a military draft or sign up to serve in the military. It's a good thing, but like that's not uniquely American. And accountability, okay, I mean, I guess that's a little better. Like not every country has some level of accountability for their government, but that's again not uniquely American. He's struggling to find anything about our culture that he actually likes that's unique to us. Because that's kind of the point. What is an American is an exclusive question. I know that's a dangerous phrase for people, but that's just what it is. To say what is an American is who is excluded from being an American. And for Vivek, the answer is pretty much nobody. You ever thought meritocracy was good? You like free speech a little bit? Think that there should be, you should serve the country if they ask you to? Congratulations. You're an American. Now, it's funny because even Nikki Haley's son ended up dunking on Vivek and saying, no, this is not, it's not about a country just being an idea. So when you have Nikki Haley's son dunking on you live on Twitter about America not being an idea, that's a gem right there, guys. That's a gem right there. That's some inter-Indian conflict that you did not expect. All right, let's get to the questions of the people here real quick. Creepy Weirdo says, but Auron, what about Jimmy Kimmel and free speech? Yes, once again, we see that free speech means being able to wish death upon your political opponents without any kind of consequence. That is freedom of speech for us today, I guess. The Creepy Weirdo says, crazy though, hurting children is wrong, actually. Right, like, again, like people are going to be far more outraged about Hasan Piker hurting his dog, which, again, he very much should not do. That makes him a horrific person. But they're going to be angry about him hurting his dog than a Democrat, wishing the death of children, right? These are both evil things, but for some reason, we're only going to get outraged about one of them. Michael Gray says, if Jay Jones' words aren't disqualifier, then nothing is. From now on, when the leftist outrage machine tries to cancel someone, just repost the text and say, sorry, your rules. Yeah, this is absolutely right. And this is kind of the problem, right? Is that ultimately Republicans are going to continue to go around canceling people on their side that say no words or bad things or have mean thoughts. And the left is not. And that dichotomy is going to work out for the left because they're going to win elections. They're going to win in places that they otherwise wouldn't because there's no consequence for what they say or what they do. And yeah, if this guy saying, hey, I want your children dead is not disqualifying, then yeah, I don't care what some right-wing guy Anon's positions are when he tries to run for office or get a job somewhere. Like, screw that. I don't care what he said because you don't care what they said, right? Like you like maybe ultimately I'll police someone because I feel like I have to because they violated something, but I'm surely not allowing the left to tell me what's beyond the pale. I'm sure not letting them dictate to me what I'm going to denounce people for because they literally wouldn't denounce anyone for anything. Florida Henry says cops are not going to jeopardize their pensions to help. Yep. Unfortunately, that's exactly correct. Like most cops probably don't like this situation, but are absolutely not going to put themselves in harm's way. And I get it to some extent, but ultimately, you can't have a country this way. You can't have a country where the police stand by and basically aid and abet terrorist attacks against ICE officers. Like, again, the left is using Civil War language. They're talking about Civil War. This is not just Tim Pool. Like, this is the left, openly, leaders, people in public power who have people with a badge and a gun who work for them. They are talking about this stuff. Kruber Weirdo says the terrorists are the real patriots, the left. Yeah, that is exactly what if I don't even think they call them patriots because they hate patriotism, right? And the real soldiers of humanity or whatever. Herb Seasoning says, what's your favorite Rush album? Mine is Grace Under Pressure. Sad that so much contemporary prog metal scene is so deeply paused. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big Rush fan. I appreciate the musicianship, but it just never really spoke to me. Like, if you've got a song on that's good, I'll enjoy it. Like, I'm not like, oh, this is so bad I have to go turn it off. But I couldn't name a Rush album if you put a gun to my head. If we're looking at more prog rock, I'd say I'm a little more Genesis, if anything else. But again, just not necessarily my genre on a consistent basis. Herb Seasoning says, didn't someone else write MLK's speeches anyway? Yes. Turns out MLK was not the writer of many of his speeches, or in many cases of his academic work that got him his degrees. Tiny Stupid Demon says, how about I can hire anyone I want and Vivek can absolutely no say in it whatsoever? Has anyone fallen behind the vibe faster than Vivek? Again, it's one of those scenarios where I think Vivek is not well liked online, but honestly, most kind of boomer conservatives are still somewhat pro Vivek. They haven't really thought deeply about the implications of kind of what he's doing and what he's saying. But you know, I think he certainly fell out of the good graces of the administration, which, you know, again, whatever small part we played in that, more than happy to be a part of that. And I think that's kind of the best we can ask for, unfortunately, at this time. But hopefully, you know, rhetoric like Vivek's will continue to look dated, will continue to look ridiculous, will continue to be left behind by the coming generations. I think that's probably going to be the case, and I really can't wait for that to happen. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, it was a pleasure talking with you. If it's your first time on this channel, you need to go ahead and click subscribe, the bell, notifications, all that, so you know when we go live. If you want to get these broadcasts as podcasts, you need to subscribe to Auron McIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform. And when you do, leave a rating or review. It helps with the algorithm magic. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, I will talk to you next time.